This is a story about giving back, and in particular, the single place in America that does it better than anyone else. Earlier this year, we brought you the story of the wealthiest spot in the country. The residents of Teton County, Wyoming have an average annual income of around $500,000. They also donate more per person than anyone else. But then it's easy to give more when you have more. So who gives the most as a proportion of how much they make? That's another story altogether. It's a chilly autumn morning in western Michigan, and today, like every Sunday, people here are heading to church.
It's a small town. I mean, we have what, 2 lights maybe? We're not very big. But I do know that they're very giving.
We genuinely do care about the people that are right next door to us. You know your neighbors, you know the people that your kids go to school with, you see them on a daily basis.
Of all the cities, towns, and communities across the United States, Belding stands apart when it comes to lending a helping hand. But to understand why, we have to think about the nature of giving.
Generosity is more than just money. It's being a family. It's being part of the community.
Community is something Pastor Ryan Snyder and his congregation think a lot about, even more so when we told them what we found. After years of research, Harvard economist Raj Shetty and his team launched the Social Capital Atlas, a project analyzing tens of billions of data points from Facebook to learn about the social fabric of America. Among the factors they studied was volunteerism. In this case, the share of people in a given place who are members of a volunteer group. And there is one town, one single zip code that stands above the rest. You guessed it.
We're just a little Teton town. I mean, Belding, are you kidding? We have nothing famous.
I know that Belding has its flaws just like everybody else does. But one thing I can say about Belding is that Belding is willing to support when support is necessary.
Anytime that there's a need, everybody will always step up, no doubt.
According to the Social Capital Atlas, about 7% of people nationwide are part of a volunteering group. In Belding, zip code 48809, that figure is 56%.
I was born and raised in Belding. I lived here for a long time, and I'm still in this community. Community isn't just you being in your house and you happen to live next to others. Community is that you're willing to help others regardless of your beliefs, regardless of your political stances, regardless of what they look like.
Generosity is an individual act, but it also is an act that responds to the social environment.
Kevin Fitzpatrick is the director of the Community and Family Institute at the University of Arkansas.
Whether it's an individual characteristic or something that our family always did, or now it's something that our church does, I mean, people are brought to generosity through a lot of mechanisms.
Although Belding might have an especially strong community, it's just one remarkable place in a particularly remarkable state. Take a look at membership in volunteer groups across the country as a whole, and the competition isn't close. Michigan is in a league of its own. We asked Michigan native and former Blackstone Vice Chairman Tony James why that might be.
I was born in Wyandotte, as you point out. Not many people actually know that. No one's heard of it. But now my real connection is I have a summer home in northern Michigan, and people say, do you have a house in your Hamptons? Do you have a place in Nantucket? No, I go to northern Michigan. I love northern Michigan. It's absolutely beautiful. There aren't many New Yorkers there.
If I told you that of all the states in the union, Michigan ranked at the top in terms of volunteering, would you be surprised?
I was very surprised, honestly. Having said that, that whole Midwestern Bible Belt area was pretty much the same green color. So it got me thinking about why. And I think what distinguishes that part of the country is small towns. Not really rural, like the American West, where there's lots of empty space, and certainly not urban, but small towns and towns that have been struggling, I guess, economically for the last 25 or 50 years, shrinking manufacturing base and so on. So I think those towns have certain common factors like strong church, strong social institutions, the 4-H club, the Boy Scouts, the Elks Club, the VFW, a lot of engagement with kids' schools. And so I think the communities know each other.
James retired from Blackstone in 2022 after 2 decades at the firm. His deep commitment to philanthropy came not so much from his time in Michigan as from his experience in New York and on Wall Street.
At some point I realized that the people in finance that I most admired weren't just successful in their careers and ran big companies, they added community service to it. And it got to the point where the leaders in our industry, if they had the capability of making a difference and the financial resources to make a difference and weren't doing anything, I started to lose respect for them. So I decided that, that there's a message there and that I should start leaning into getting involved with philanthropy. And I think people are inherently generous. They do give to the church or to the United Way or something. But until you start leaning in, you don't realize how much impact you can have and how many opportunities there are to make a difference.
Americans spent about 5 billion hours volunteering in 2023, valued at around $167 billion. But in the richest country in the world, it comes as no surprise that much of our giving is financial. The U.S. donated almost $600 billion last year, and New York has the highest total contributions. Teton County, home of Jackson Hole, generally gives away the highest amount per capita. But the people who donate the most, as a proportion of their income, live about halfway in between New York and Wyoming, in a place that happens to be Professor Fitzpatrick's backyard.
If you look at philanthropy across Northwest Arkansas, we would see that over the last several decades, as the large philanthropic organizations have responded, so too has the individual.
Here in Benton County, Arkansas, the average annual charitable deduction is about 15% of residents' income. That's well above the figure for Teton County and several times higher than the national average. So what makes this area so unique? We asked a local philanthropist.
I moved to Northwest Arkansas in 2002 with a little bit of a life transition and started working for a small family business for an hourly rate and worked my way up through that company and ultimately was able to buy it from the founder.
Aaron Marshall ran the firm for 8 years before selling it, starting his own nonprofit and building housing for hundreds of homeless residents on a site where they had been living in tents. He called it New Beginnings. And although Marshall stepped away from his business to spend more time and money on those around him, he still says the businesses of Northwest Arkansas could be the secret to the area's generosity. 3 businesses in particular.
There's something special about Northwest Arkansas. It's a unique place. We're the home of Walmart, Tyson, J.B. Hunt. Those families with names that almost anyone would recognize have not only set a tone by their business success and entrepreneurship, but they also set a tone for charitable giving and building the community and making it better over the last 30 years.
For Marshall, giving goes a long way back. He donated $2 of the very first 20 he ever earned. But he also thinks it helps to see firsthand the charity of others and the way that business success and philanthropy can go hand in hand.
I would say that's inspired a whole nother tier of people like me who were running small businesses in support of some of those larger companies or the other companies from around the country that support them. And I think that there's hundreds of people like me who live here whose names you'll never hear and wouldn't recognize that are doing work quietly behind the scenes to make Northwest Arkansas one of the best places to live in our country.
In the context of big giving, there oftentimes is medium and small and tiny giving. I mean, it's an energy and it's an atmosphere of generosity that gets created. We have these corporate giants that have done such an amazing job in responding to the needs of not only the local community, but the regional and state communities, that it's really inspired a whole generation of givers.
Perhaps the legendary investor and philanthropist Warren Buffett put it best in his note this month to Berkshire Hathaway shareholders. In the letter, he described his plans to step away from the firm and give away over $1 billion, writing, quote, When you help someone in any of thousands of ways, you help the world. Kindness is costless, but also priceless. Whether you are religious or not, it's hard to beat the golden rule as a guide to behavior.
And all God's people said, Amen.
Back in Michigan, Pastor Snyder agrees.
Love your neighbor as yourself. And it's like just being a brother, just being there for someone, regardless of whether or not they've been there for you. You're okay to just jump in and help. You're okay being there for other people.
What makes America unique in this world is the way private Americans give so generously. You don't see that anywhere else in the whole world. And our government doesn't support a lot of these charities the way they do. Think of the museum world, the British Museum, the Louvre, they live off government support. The Metropolitan Museum is 100% supported by private philanthropy and private giving of art. Nothing from the government. If we shrink that private philanthropy, I think we'll see it a lot of places in the community. And I think it would be a terrible thing. So I think that's a really important pillar of American society and unique, and we should be grateful for it, not threaten it.
Whether it's New York City, Belding, or Bentonville, there are many different ways of looking at giving and of doing it. Michigan and Arkansas are exceptional, though hardly unique. But in both cases, the lessons are clear. Community matters. Generosity is contagious. And giving back can yield unexpected results. Through your long history of charitable giving, what have you learned? What about it has changed in your mind from what you thought originally?
The most satisfaction I've had in my life has not been the business success, the year-over-year growth, or selling for more than I purchased a company for. It's walking around the hallways and the sidewalks of New Beginnings, talking to somebody who a year ago was unsheltered in the woods, didn't know where their next meal was going to come from, and now they're in a safe environment and they have a plan for permanent housing. The satisfaction level that comes from giving and investing when you have the ability to do so for people that don't is 10 or 100x any other experience of my life.
A remarkable return on investment, not in dollars, but in fulfillment.
Thank you so much.
Generosity pays dividends all its own.